Bhakti and Jnana by Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Bhakti and Jnana, the same in the end. Pure knowledge and pure love are both one and the same. The same being whom the Vedantins call Brahman is called Atman by the yogis and Bhagavan by the bhaktas. The same Brahman is called priest when he conducts worship, and cook when he is employed in the kitchen. What is jnana, knowledge, in the highest sense? Says the Jnani, O Lord, Thou alone dost act in all this universe. I am but the smallest of tools in Thy hands. Nothing is mine. Everything is Thine. Myself, my family, my riches, my virtues, all are Thine. A devotee, how can one know that one has attained jnana even while leading a family life? The Master, by the tears and the thrill of the hair at the name of Hari, when, at the very mention of the sweet name of the Lord, tears trickle down from a person's eyes and his hairs stand on end, truly he has attained jnana. If the scum on the surface of a tank is pushed aside a little, it spreads out again covering the water, but if it is well kept away with bamboo frames, it cannot come back anymore. So if Maya is forced back merely once in a way, it comes again to trouble us. But when the heart is hedged in with Bhakti and Jnana, it is permanently kept away. Indeed, it is only thus that God becomes manifest to human vision. How Bhakti leads to jnana. Knowledge of non-duality is the highest, but God should be worshipped first as a master is worshipped by his servant, as the adored by the adorer. This is the easiest path. It soon leads to the highest knowledge of unity. Though the non-dualistic knowledge is the highest, you should proceed in your devotion first with the idea of the worshipper and the worshipped, with the feeling, God is the object of worship and I am his worshipper. Then you will easily attain knowledge. Brahman itself sheds tears of grief, being caught in the trap of the 5 elements. You may close your eyes and convince yourself saying again and again, there is no thorn, there is no thorn. But the moment you touch it, you feel the prick, and you draw your hand away in pain. Likewise, however much you may reason within yourself that you are beyond birth and death, virtue and vice, joy and sorrow, hunger and thirst, that you are the immutable Atman, the existence, knowledge, bliss. Absolute nevertheless, the moment the body is subject to ailments or the mind encounters the temptations of the world and is overwhelmed by the transient pleasures of wealth and sex, and in consequence you happen to commit sin, you become subject to delusion, pain, and misery, become deprived of discrimination and good conduct, and get overwhelmed by utter perplexity. Know therefore that none can have self-realization and liberation from all miseries unless God himself shows mercy to him and Maya unbars the door. Nothing can be achieved unless the Divine Mother removes the obstacles from the path. The aspirant can never realize God unless Maya takes pity on him and moves aside from his path. The moment she bestows her mercy on the aspirant, he becomes blessed with the vision of God and escapes from all miseries. Otherwise, however much you may go on with your discrimination and other spiritual practices, they will be of little use. The Jnana Yogi longs to realize Brahman God, the impersonal, the absolute, and the unconditioned. But, as a general rule, a soul would do better in this present age to love, pray, and surrender himself entirely to God. The Lord will save his devotee and will vouchsafe to him even Brahma-jnana if the devotee hungers and thirsts after it. Thus, the Jnana Yogi will attain jnana as well as bhakti. It will be given to him to realize Brahman. The Lord willing, he will also realize the personal God of the bhakta. The bhakta, on the other hand, is generally content to see and realize the personal God, the Saguna Brahman of the Upanishads. Yet the Lord makes him heir to his infinite glory and grants him bhakti as well as jnana, and the realization of God, personal as well as impersonal. Does a devotee ever attain to the state of absolute union with God? If so, how? It is possible for the human soul to attain the condition of absolute union with God. And it is then only that a person can feel and say, "He is the same as myself." An old servant of the house, in course of time, may come to be counted as one of the family, and the master of the house, being extremely pleased with his work, may one day seat him in his own seat of honor, saying to all around him that from that day forward there will be no difference between him and the servant. The master may say, "He and I are one. Obey his commands as you do mine. Whosoever will not do so will be punished." Though the servant may hesitate through modesty to be thus honored, the master will by force raise him to the seat of honor. Such is the condition of those souls who realize the state of oneness with God by serving him for a long time. He graciously endows them with all his glory and attributes, and raises them to his own seat of universal sovereignty. The bhakta, as a rule, does not long for Brahma-jnana, the realization of the impersonal, but remains content with realizing the divine person alone, my divine mother, or any of her infinite forms of glory, such as the divine incarnations like Sri Krishna and Chaitanya Deva, the visible revelations of God. He is anxious to ensure that the whole of his ego is not effaced in samadhi. He would fain have sufficient individuality left to enjoy the vision divine as a person. He would fain taste sugar rather than become sugar. Janani and Bhakta. My Divine Mother, the personal phase of Brahman, has declared that she is the Brahman of the Vedanta. It is within her power to give Brahma-jnana, which she does by causing the effacement of the lower self. Thus, in the first place, you may, my mother willing, come to Brahman through right discrimination, vikara. Again, you may come to it through bhakti. The essence of bhakti consists in unceasing prayer for light and love and self-surrender to her. First, come to my Divine Mother, the personal God, through these. Take my word for it that if your prayer is really heartfelt, my mother will respond to it if you will only wait. Pray to her again if you want to realize her impersonal self. Should she deign to grant your prayer, for she is omnipotent, you will be in a position to realize her impersonal self in samadhi. This is precisely the same thing as Brahma-jnana. Difference in the temperaments of the Janani and the Bhakta. One meets with two classes of spiritual aspirants. One of them resembles the young of a monkey, and the other may be likened to a kitten. The young one of the monkey strongly clasps its mother, while the young one of the cat cannot do so, but mews piteously, staying wherever it is placed by her. If the young monkey lets go the hold on its mother, it falls down and gets hurt. This is because it has to depend upon its own strength. But the kitten runs no such risk, for the mother herself carries it about from place to place. Similarly, the aspirant who follows the path of knowledge or the path of selfless work depends upon his own effort to attain salvation. On the other hand, the aspirant who follows the path of love knows that the Lord is the disposer of everything, so with perfect confidence, he resigns himself entirely to his mercy. The former is like the young of a monkey, and the latter like the kitten. The Jnani says, I am he, I am that pure Atman. But the Bhakta declares, all these are his glory. God is attained only when man gets established in one or other of these three attitudes. All this am I. All this art thou. Thou art the master, and I am the servant. When a person is born of the spirit of Siva, he becomes a Janani. His constant tendency is towards the consciousness that Brahman alone is true and this world is false. But when a person is born of the spirit of Vishnu, in him faith and devotion never fail. The Ganges of knowledge, flowing in the heart of a Janani, runs only in one direction. To him, the whole universe is a dream. He always lives in his own self. But the Ganges of love in a devotee's heart does not always run in the same direction. It has its ebb and flow. The devotee laughs, weeps, dances, and sings. He loves to live in and enjoy God's presence. In that ocean of bliss, he loves to cast himself, sometimes swimming, sometimes sinking, and again floating, as a block of ice dances in water, tossing up and down. According to the Puranas, the devotee is separate from God. Man is one entity and he is another. This body is like a vessel. The mind, the intellect, and the ego are, as it were, the water in it. And Brahman is like the sun. He is being reflected in that water. So the devotees witness the various divine manifestations. But according to the Vedanta, Brahman alone is the reality, the substance, and everything else is Maya, unreal, like dreams. There is this stick of I lying on the surface of the sea of Brahman. If you take away the stick, there is one undivided sheet of water. But when the stick is there, it divides the water into two parts, one on each side. When one falls into samadhi, the knowledge of Brahman dawns. Then the ego is blotted out. According to the Vedanta, the waking state also is not real. Narada and other teachers took to bhakti for the good of the world, even after gaining knowledge. The Master, Bhakti is the moon, while Jnana is the sun. I have heard that there are oceans in the extreme north and south, where it is so cold that the waters in them freeze in part, forming masses of ice in which ships are caught and held fast. A devotee. Are men likewise caught halfway in the path of bhakti? The Master. Yes, they are indeed, but it matters nothing, for the ice in which one is held is the solidified water of the ocean of existence, knowledge, bliss. If you reason, Brahman alone is real, the universe is false. The ice will thaw in the sun of Jnana, and what will remain? Only the formless water of that ocean of existence, knowledge, bliss. Jnana is like a man, and Bhakti is like a woman. Knowledge has entry only up to the drawing room of God, but love can enter his inner apartments.